Hi, everyone. This is Terrence Cheng. I'm Chancellor of Connecticut State Colleges and University System and host of this podcast, Office Hours. Through candid discussions, Office Hours will explore the intersection of education, leadership, and economic growth. We will hear from state, higher education, business, and industry leaders, and students and faculty who will share valuable perspectives that inspire and empower listeners on their educational and professional journeys. And we will delve into the key issues impacting higher education across Connecticut. Joining me today is Fran Pastore, CEO of the Women's Business Development Council. Fran founded WBDC in 1997 with $100,000 in seed funding. Today, the organization's budget has grown to nearly $10 million. Under Fran's leadership, the WBDC has become a valued organization providing entrepreneurial education, technical assistance, and access to capital to women entrepreneurs across Connecticut. Fran, thank you so much for being here today. It's a real honor and pleasure.
Oh, it's an honor to have been asked to participate. Thank you so much.
Let's talk about the Women's Business Development Council, the WBDC. You founded this organization 27 years ago. So talk to us about the inspiration behind it. Maybe you saw a need that wasn't being met, your personal kind of engagement with it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's reflecting back. I mean, full transparency, necessity is the mother of invention. And I think a lot of people know my story. I was a single, unemployed mom with two very little children, little girls. I grew up in a very provincial Italian household. I was the only person in my family to go to college, and I have a large extended family. And what I realized growing in that cultural environment, of course, back in that time, was that the women in my family were completely dependent on the men in my family. Right. And here I had these two daughters, and didn't really have a problem being able to depend on a man, but not being dependent on him.
Yep.
And so my very, very short-lived career on Wall Street was not something that I wanted to go back to. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I was blessed with some really wonderful, brilliant, highly educated, successful girlfriends in Stanford. And we started trying to figure out how I can, take my personal passions around women's economic equity, teach my children something. And really what I wanted to do was do something great for the community. And what we found out was that Connecticut was one of the only states in the country that didn't have a resource to help women entrepreneurs launch and scale micro businesses. And so therein my passion and a need in my community came together. And that's how entrepreneurs solve problems.
Yeah. And I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? Like that you were able to kind of put together both your personal situation and dovetail that with your professional vision and passion. So tell us how, again, the organization's been around 27 years, right? Tell us, I'm sure there's a lot, but, give us the high level. How has it changed?
Well, we started out, as you said, with this very small seed funding from SBA, and how it's changed is really the change took place over the last 4 years. COVID had many silver linings for WBDC. So, as you said, we have a budget that is roughly $10 million today. And what I spent this morning doing was working with my team to get some of those emergency flood grants out as a result of the once in 1,000 year floods that took place on August 18th.
Right.
And so we have a visionary governor, and we have a governor who is interested in business and whose wife has been in small business and, been an advocate for them forever and an investor. And so we're really lucky that the governor recognized in WBDC when the pandemic hit us that we needed to protect our small businesses and we needed to take care of them in a way that I don't think anybody's really ever done before.
Right.
So the being part of the governor's emergency response team, if you will, for COVID is what really elevated the importance of women-owned businesses, especially women-owned businesses of color. as the infrastructure and the backbone of our downtown economies. And so we were really called to be part of the recovery and help businesses access the much needed resources that were available during the pandemic. That experience, elevated our brand. My team was working 24/7 to address the needs of not only our clients, but all of a sudden, businesses from all over the state that didn't even know we existed. Right. And so we've been riding that wave of this amplification of our brand and translating that into growth for the organization, and hence responding to the astronomical growth of women-owned businesses in our state, but also on a national level.
Yeah, I love that it has economic impact, but it's also lifting up, historically a marginalized community. And I want to note or you could tell us, actually, talk to us a little bit about that expansion physically into some of the other cities outside of Stamford.
We have offices now, Stamford, New Haven, New London, Waterbury, and an office in Hartford. That growth, it's attributed to many things. But one of the main areas of growth, and I'm really proud to share this, is that we are very consistent with national trends in Connecticut, in that a lot of the growth has taken place because of the number of Black women who are launching and scaling their own small businesses. And also, one of the platforms that President Biden ran on was the care economy. And so, as you know, we don't have a national paid leave policy, and we don't have a national child care policy. And so, again, our governor really stepped up. He's a visionary leader, and, he is helping us to establish a vertical market. At WBDC, we have an entire division now dedicated to early childhood educators. We are stepping up that entire industry in our state by helping them run their businesses better and providing them with financial resources that they need to address some of the infrastructure problems that they have, which would allow them to add more capacity and take care of more children and expand the number of slots that are available so families can get to work. As a result of our expansion, we have been able to add significantly more staff in the form of business advisors and mentors that can really provide the coaching that women need, and we call them the 3 C's, coaching, confidence, and capital, right? Yeah. Because if you get the coaching, you'll build the confidence, and hopefully you'll be able to access the capital. So that's how I qualify the work that we do.
That's really great. That's really great. So, and again, having benefited from knowing you and trying to partner with you and do things together, what else can we do in post-secondary education or higher education to help with these things, right? Whether it's, while we are delivering that education and training or after they've graduated, what else can we do?
I think that you cannot overstate the importance of a continued relationship with colleagues and with the institutions in those that you attended. I find for me personally, some of the greatest satisfaction that I have received and the personal and professionally has come from the institution that I graduated from. And the opportunity to continue to interact and have connections to my peers who are successful. And who have, access to people and networks that I may not have had access to. And so I think that there can be so much done for graduates of any institution when there's a strong underpinning of alumni and a strong, career development office that is really going to follow you throughout your career until you're really in a place where you can be one of those people that are giving back.
Yes, that's a great point. It's a great point. So what I hear you saying is we should have more prominent and effective women and alumni networks, development networks, and to not lose that kind of, that relationship.
If you make it part of the culture of the organization that we are here to support you. And look, that's something that, ivory towers do really well, right?
Sure.
And, I think in order to create a strong alumni network, you need to be engaging at multiple touch points. So the giving back in that regard is quite natural, I think.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really great point. How has the economic climate shifted? What's that landscape look like? Has that made things maybe a little bit easier or more fair, or more balanced for women in business? Has it stayed the same in some ways? Is it maybe getting worse in some ways? I mean, what's your perspective on that?
Truthfully, I think that, with a lot of the financial institutions that I work with, there is every effort to connect with more women from disenfranchised populations, and to help them access the capital they need, because we've seen proof. The numbers are there, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reality is there. And so there's probably not a financial institution that I have talked to in the last 12 months that doesn't have some kind of initiative where they are reaching out to women, or they're reaching out to include diverse populations. So in terms of the recognition that women continue to start businesses at twice the rate of their male counterparts, that women of color are running ahead of all other women in terms of the number of businesses that they're launching. The problem for all women is the lack of access to capital. And so I see financial institutions trying to come up with ways that they can work with WBDC so that we can educate more, train more, make people more bank ready. We have one staff member alone just dedicated to educating people on how they need to get themselves bank ready. And so I think that I feel very positive about the trend that I'm seeing in the space for women entrepreneurs. I mean, right here in Connecticut, we have Tidal River, which is dedicated angel investing for women. We have Connecticut Innovations, which has a priority to fund women-led ventures. And we have WBDC, who's working with those smaller micro businesses that are really community-based. So I do see that we're living in a great time, at least in our own state.
That's really great. Thank you for highlighting the positive, right? And shining light on other partners and entities that are out there, because, again, I've said this before, I think we focus too much on the negative. We're always looking at the glass half empty instead of the glass half full. And there are a lot of really great organizations like yours and those that you just mentioned as well. What advice do you have for folks who are graduating, who are interested in starting their own business?
Talk to people. Talk to people. Ask for guidance, ask for advice. People always want to share their story with you, their story of their own personal trajectory. And put yourself into situations where maybe you're stretching a little bit. If there's something happening at your library, if there's something happening at school, if there's a speaker brought into school, go up, talk to them afterwards, ask them about their journey, ask them about their experience. I think a lot of what I talked about earlier, the coaching, the confidence, I think that is important anywhere and everywhere, and especially today for young people. We are so pulled in so many directions with so much information coming at us, and sometimes to kind of get out of our own way and just have real life conversations with human beings. And I think especially the generation that we're talking about right now, because of, the mental health issues, what that translates to, in the early 20s, during and post-college life. But what I would say is to talk to people and inquire and learn about their career journey, their trajectory, and ask for help. People are always willing to help where they can. So that's what I would say. I think
that's great.
I think that taking advantage of all the opportunities that the Connecticut State University and college system has to offer, and helping to be part of the solution. I was very active on my college campus in doing what I'm telling you to do or suggesting. Bringing people in all the time, running special events, bringing in people from my fellow students to talk to. So getting the student body engaged in that as an initiative, I think could be very empowering.
Yeah, but listen, we're in a people business, right? You're in a people business. I'm in a people business. Like, we got to help people. if you were going to give advice for us, whether it's higher education or more broadly society, what else can we do to support a strong pipeline of young female entrepreneurs? Right? What can we do to really just make that pipeline as strong as we can?
Again, I kind of more of the same. I think is providing the opportunities. So my team and myself, we would love to come in if there's a women's leadership group on campus, if there's a women's entrepreneurship group, if there's any congregation or group that is interested in women's issues, invite us on campus. We'll come in, we'll talk. Helping students understand that there are resources out for them, whether it's WBCD, whether it's domestic violence, whether it is, any organization that is focused community solving, problem solving, with a female lens, I think would be helpful.
That's great. That's great. Well, and I will certainly take you up on that offer, because we have institutions and campuses in the cities where you have locations, and that's no brainer that you all are leaders, and we need to have you in front of our students and with our faculty and staff as well. Okay, so few quick fire questions. Do you have a favorite band or a singer?
Oh, it's so hard because I'm such like an old, rocker. But yes, I do. I just saw Bruce Springsteen the other night, and it was like the best concert of my life. And so that's my new favorite. He's my new favorite. I mean, I like a handful, but I really love Bruce.
What is a college course or a life course that you think everyone should take?
Accounting 101.
Accounting, yeah.
Accounting 101. It was the biggest struggle of my life, but I would say Accounting 101 and Law 101. I still use some of the most basic principles of Law 101 that I learned back in the day, and Accounting 101. And the thing about Accounting 101, and why I said it first, is because it teaches you everything you need to think about to run a business. Everything. You will always be able to use it. You will apply it to your personal household. You can apply it to a business. It's something that we all
need. It's a life
need.
Skill, right? It's a critical life
skill. It is a life skill. Absolutely.
Anything in particular, an initiative or a project you're excited about in the coming year?
Next year, I'm looking forward to working on our development department, because we have been without a development director for a couple of years. And so I'm really excited that we just hired someone. I'm looking forward to really, for the first time, having the resources that we really need in a real department. So I'm excited about that. Very excited.
That's great. So let's look back a bit of time. If you could go back 10, 15 years, 20 years, what's a piece of advice you would give to Fran back then?
Oh, to have more confidence.
Yeah.
To have more confidence, and to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Trust yourself.
Great
I
advice.
think one of the biggest flaws that we have as humans is not ever feeling like we're enough. And always that we can do better, and trying to be the perfect person, when really just accepting yourself as you are for who you are, with, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and knowing how and where to fill in those gaps of people that you can trust and that you respect.
That's great. Okay. So last question for now is, are there any leaders that you look up to, historical, global, current leaders? Who do you look up to?
I would have to say right now, and for a very, very long time, I have always just held Eleanor Roosevelt in such high esteem. One of her books, My Day, which is really a compilation of a lot of her newspaper column. She was just so ahead of her time. And really was so influential in her husband's presidency and for our country. And, was so criticized for being outspoken. And for, as my mother would say, gallivanting all over the country, And so whenever my family does call me Mrs. Roosevelt, as a younger woman, they would call me Mrs. Roosevelt. And I would just say, I'm happy to be. I'm happy. be in
Right.
those shoes. So yeah, I love that she was just way ahead of her time on so many issues, and still managed to do what she was what was expected of her as a first lady of that time.
Yes.
But also managed to be true to herself and live on her own terms.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm reading a biography of FDR right now, and from what I'm learning, I could not agree more. And I think a bio of Eleanor Roosevelt has to be that close to next on my list because, again, she's a remarkable figure. But Fran, I just got to tell you, with all sincerity and honesty, I look up to you. I look at what you've done in your business. I know you as a leader, as a community person, but also as someone who is fearless and as a friend and mentor. And I have such great respect for you, and you make a huge impact. You make a huge impact with so many lives, and your legacy is going to be incredible someday. And you just helped so many people in so many ways. So thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for doing it the way you do it. You're awesome. And, and I just look forward to trying to do more with you and continue to learn from you.
Thank you. And right back at you. Thank you so much. It was really fun to do this with you.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for all you do for our state.
Thank you. Well, thanks for tuning in to Office Hours. I'm Terrence Cheng, Chancellor of the CSC system. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast and listen in to future episodes where we discuss the importance of higher education and why higher education should be a part of Connecticut's growth strategy with state and business leaders and students, administrators, faculty, and staff.